Canada's ICE moment, CBSA raids Calgary construction site in rare immigration crackdown. Welcome back to Canada Chronicles. Today we're breaking down a story that's caught the nation off guard, a surprise immigration enforcement operation right in downtown Calgary. For the first time in years, the Canada Border Services Agency, working with the Calgary Police Service, halted work at a massive construction site to check workers' IDs and immigration status. What happened wasn't just a routine inspection. It was a visible demonstration that Canada is beginning to enforce immigration laws, not only at its borders, but within its own cities. If you've ever wondered how Canada's immigration system could shift from policy to real-world enforcement, this video explains it. And stay with us until the end, because we'll reveal something few are talking about: the hidden pathway risk that every temporary resident in Canada needs to know. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on Canada's changing immigration system. Let's get started. Stage set: the unexpected inspection. It was a regular Wednesday morning in mid-October 2025. Cranes were lifting steel, trucks were backing into position, and workers were busy at the Calgary Event Center project near 12th Avenue Southeast and Stampede Trail. Then everything stopped. Uniformed officers from the Canada Border Services Agency, backed by the Calgary Police Service, entered the site and began checking identification and verifying immigration status. The CBSA later confirmed it was conducting a compliance investigation under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, Canada's main immigration law. By the end of the inspection, 4 workers were found to be without legal status and were instructed to report to CBSA offices. The work soon resumed, but for everyone on site, the message was clear: Canada's immigration enforcement has reached the workplace. This kind of operation is rare. CBSA typically performs only a handful of interior workplace investigations each year, about 5 or 6 nationwide. But this one happened in Alberta's largest city, in full public view. For many, it felt like a warning, a visible shift toward tougher enforcement inside Canada's borders. Rising interior enforcement. The bigger picture. For decades, Canada has been known as one of the world's most welcoming countries for newcomers. But beneath that reputation are growing tensions: housing costs, job competition, and a public debate about fairness in access to employment and services. At the heart of this debate is unauthorized work, when individuals work without proper status or outside the terms of their permits. The Canada Border Services Agency has stated that while these workplace checks are rare, it will investigate when credible information or tips are received. That's believed to be what triggered the Calgary inspection. Sectors such as construction, agriculture, food processing, caregiving, and hospitality rely heavily on temporary foreign workers and permanent residents to fill labor gaps. But in large projects with multiple subcontractors, paperwork can blur, and informal hiring sometimes occurs. That creates 2 problems: workers without valid status risk exploitation, and law-abiding contractors lose competitiveness when others cut costs through off-the-books labor. The Calgary operation brought those problems into the spotlight, turning a quiet policy issue into a national conversation. Why Calgary, and why now? Why did CBSA choose this site, and why at this moment? The Event Center project is one of Calgary's biggest public infrastructure builds. High visibility, multiple contractors, and plenty of public interest. Choosing it sent a message. Compliance applies everywhere, even on major projects backed by city funds. The timing is equally significant. Ottawa has been signaling changes to Canada's immigration priorities. The federal government is preparing a new immigration levels plan that will likely slow temporary resident growth while prioritizing permanent pathways for high-demand fields such as healthcare, trades, and technology. Prime Minister Mark Carney recently said the upcoming plan will include steps to ensure fairness and balance in the system, following a year of record housing costs and labor market tension. Meanwhile, Alberta's provincial government has made job protection for local workers a top issue, urging tougher oversight of employers that break federal rules. The Calgary inspection happened right at the intersection of those 2 agendas: federal control and provincial concern. What happened on the ground? According to workers interviewed by local media, the inspection began without warning. Crews were asked to stop what they were doing and line up at the gates while officers checked their documents. One worker said, "It was like someone hit mute on the city. Most were cleared quickly and returned to work. 4, however, were taken aside for further review and later found to have no legal status. CBSA said police officers were there only to ensure safety. The operation was orderly but serious. For those who watched it unfold, it was a jarring reminder that immigration enforcement doesn't stop at airports anymore. Afterward, contractors scrambled to verify paperwork. Payroll staff double-checked records. For employers across Alberta, it was a wake-up call. The era of quiet non-compliance is over. Impact on workers. For temporary residents and international workers across Canada, this is a clear warning. Working without a valid permit or outside its terms now carries real risk. CBSA can issue removal orders, exclusion orders, or Section 44 reports that can bar individuals from returning to Canada for years. The emotional impact is equally heavy. Many migrants already live under stress, balancing long hours, tight finances, and uncertain paths to permanent residency. Now they also face the fear of workplace inspections. Even those fully compliant can be affected if their employer isn't. When enforcement targets a company, every name on the payroll can come under review. In Calgary's case, the 4 workers identified may represent only a fraction of a much larger issue that's long operated below the radar: impact on employers and contractors. For employers, this inspection is a stark reminder. Compliance is no longer optional. The City of Calgary has already reiterated that prime contractors must ensure every subcontractor follows federal and provincial laws when hiring workers. Companies caught violating these standards face more than fines. They risk contract cancellation, suspension from public projects, and lasting damage to their reputation. In competitive industries like construction and manufacturing, even one incident can cost millions in delays and lost business. Employers now need to maintain clear records, valid work permits, payroll documents, timesheets, and verification of subcontractor practices. Canada's immigration enforcement is no longer theoretical. It's practical, visible, and expanding. Policy context: a new era of enforcement. The Calgary inspection isn't happening in isolation. It fits into a broader strategy outlined by Ottawa to tighten compliance while managing overall immigration growth. In its 2025 to 2026 departmental plan, the Canada Border Services Agency highlighted immigration investigations, removals, and interior enforcement as major priorities. The Strong Borders Act, tabled earlier this year, also pledged more funding and personnel to strengthen border and inland oversight. Although final details of the 2026 Immigration Levels Plan are expected in early November, the direction is clear: slower intake of temporary residents, more monitoring, and stronger coordination with provinces. Calgary may have been the first public sign of that shift, but it likely won't be the last. Thanks for staying with us this far. We appreciate your time and hope you're finding this information valuable. What this means for you: the hidden pathway risk no one is talking about. The real story behind Calgary's inspection is the ripple effect it creates for anyone on a temporary status in Canada. Even if your documents are valid, you could still be affected by your employer's compliance record. Enforcement actions increasingly begin with anonymous tips, subcontractor audits, or data reviews. That means a worker doing everything right could still face questioning if their employer is flagged. It's a risk that many temporary residents don't realize exists until it's too late. Here's what you can do right now. Verify your permit, confirm it hasn't expired and matches your job title and employer. Check your employer's authorization. Only verified companies can legally hire foreign workers. Keep copies of all documents, permits, pay stubs, contracts, and correspondence. Employers should audit every subcontractor and document all hiring decisions. Industries that rely on international labor, from construction and caregiving to food production, must prepare for tighter scrutiny. The upcoming Immigration Levels Plan may bring new rules for work permit renewals, employer audits, and on-site inspections across provinces. Calgary's inspection could mark the beginning of a new normal where inland enforcement becomes routine. The path forward: adaptation and accountability. This isn't just a story about enforcement, it's about adaptation. To keep Canada's immigration system strong, every part of it, government, business, and worker, must share accountability. The federal government must ensure enforcement is transparent and fair while protecting vulnerable workers. Employers must verify every hire, keep accurate records, and train managers on immigration obligations. Workers must stay informed, renew documents on time, and seek legal advice if unsure. Canada's economy still depends on migrant labor. The construction of homes, the harvest of crops, the care of seniors, all rely on foreign and permanent resident workers. That's why enforcement and opportunity must go hand in hand. A fair system requires clear rules and real protection for those who follow them. The Calgary inspection was not just a crackdown, it was a turning point in how Canada manages its promise of fairness, safety, and accountability. The Calgary worksite inspection has made one thing clear. Canada's immigration system is entering a new phase. Enforcement is no longer confined to airports or border crossings. It's now reaching deep into workplaces and communities. Whether you're a worker, an employer, or planning to come to Canada, the message is simple. The rules are tightening, and compliance matters more than ever. Transparency, fair hiring, and valid status protect not only individuals, but the integrity of the entire system. As Canada prepares its next immigration plan, one thing is certain. The days of silent non-compliance are ending. Stay alert, stay informed, and stay secured. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into Canada's immigration, changes, and enforcement updates. See you in the next video.